There are a few more questions, in fact, I would like to ask you on the resume design. One of the questions students have constantly been asking, in fact, I believe this has been asked in my recent visit to MLRIT. The question was, I am a mechanical engineer. I did a paper presentation in mechanical engineering and I did a project in mechanical engineering, but I am sitting for a Tech Mahindra campus placements. How do I present my mechanical engineering paper or the project in front of an IT company? Should I be presenting it or not, first of all? If I am presenting it, how could I even impress upon them something which is not even relevant to their nature of work?
I believe the last statement is not a true statement. Relevancy is a function. Today we don't talk about IT as much as we talk about ITES. When I use the word ITES, it talks about enabling services. Now, why is that IT companies open to taking mechanical engineers, electrical engineers? It's not just because these engineers can be trained in the skills of IT. It's also because today most of these companies do a lot of projects for mechanical engineering and electrical engineering and various other companies. Now, imagine the fact that I am TCS and I get a project in L&T, which is a mechanical engineering company. I have two choices. I can either recruit a mechanical engineer and train him in IT and send him there, or IT engineer, train him in mechanical engineering and send him there. Now, I obviously do not have the ability to do the second one. So, I would rather take a mechanical engineer, train him in IT and send him there. So, in effect, therefore, the knowledge of mechanical engineering is number one, not a waste. Second, for me, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, chemical engineering is first engineering. What is that one thing that is common between among all the engineers? It is that logical ability. So, when an electrical engineer or mechanical engineer comes into picture, I want to see whether the person is logical or not. Because if the person is logical, then he or she is going to fit in every area, especially the field of IT, which is completely logic in nature. Third element, the student as per you has done some projects in mechanical engineering. Now, should it be mentioned in the resume? Answer is yes. That way, the student is able to say that, look, beyond academics, I have done something else. Now, what happens is that projects are various different dimensions about the student, and therefore, the student can highlight the fact that he has not wasted his time. Now, there is one more point to be understood, however. When a mechanical engineering student has done a project, he need not elaborate the project as much in the resume when the resume is going for an IT company. But if that resume is going for a mechanical engineering company, it might actually make sense for him to elaborate that as well. So, the distinction between the two would be, in an IT company, it can be as brief as it can be. But if you have done some project in a hot area, which is a debatable area, let's say, for example, hybrid engines in mechanical engineering or green buildings in civil engineering, mentioning these will result in interviews also being controlled in those areas. So, it is not that a person who is coming and interviewing you does not know mechanical engineering or civil engineering. Second point that we need to understand is, when, however, you are sending the resume to a company which is a core company, learn to elaborate that.
In fact, this is a concern even I have as a trainer has been when I watch students. Students, when you talk about project or a paper presentation, the best they generally tend to project on a resume is only the title of the project or title of the paper presentation. What should be the right elaboration a student should have about the project? Would a title excite the interviewer to look and ask a question on that project? If I were a student, I'm mentioning something on a resume, how should I actually mention that element about the project I have done or the paper I have presented?
Number one, if the title is not exciting enough or it does not capture what you have done, then it's a wrong title. As simple as that. The choice of title is very important, because when a person reads the title, it should give at least an understanding of what has been the coverage, if not the depth of the coverage. But having said that, title also becomes very important in the sense that it could probably excite the interviewer in asking something interesting. But the interviewer will do so only if your project is different from what your friends have done. So, in case it so happens that you have done a project which is exactly a project with many of your batchmates have done, then you really don't need to elaborate it so much, because no one is going to be interested. But if you have done a project which others have not done, and therefore your project is a little different, and therefore there is a temptation for the person who has already seen quite a few resumes, but when he looks at your resume, he realizes the fact that he has never seen that project which you have mentioned in your resume earlier, that's an attractive one. So, in that situation, what we say is, don't just write the title, elaborate a little more. So, what happens is, it occupies little more space in your resume. Because it successfully occupies more space in your resume, it has the ability to catch the attention of the interviewer, and therefore force the interviewer to ask a question which otherwise might not have been asked.
Could you kindly elaborate on this, possibly give an example so that our students understand it a little better? Taking an example of some projects which you would have seen?
Let me put it this way. Let's say in the terms of IT, I see many people doing a lot of database oriented projects. And most of these projects are projects with they do it in a group. And it's not that only one group is doing it. There could be 3 groups of 5 doing the same project, which means 15 of them are sharing the same information. If that is the case, the person who comes first with the resume with that project written probably would have 1 or 2 questions being asked. After that, when I as an interviewer see that the same project has been done by others, my interest is no more there in asking the question. But imagine the fact that a student has done a project which others have not done, or has done a project in the area which is exciting. Today, for example, we have things which are exciting include big data, for example, cloud computing, for example. I'm talking in field of IT. Now, if a student has done in those areas, or a mechanical engineer, for example, has done in an area like artificial intelligence or robotics, now what is going to happen is that I'm going to be enthused about it because these are futuristic projects. So, in 2 situations, I ask for greater elaboration. One is a situation where your project is a unique project where others have not done so. Second is a case where yours is a hot project. When I use the word hot project, it's a project someone will get excited about. It's about future. Now, it is not something that I have seen in many other colleges, and I have seen in your college. I am excited about it and I would like to know more about it. In that condition, yes, I will be tempted, but it's your responsibility as a student to tempt me. And that is where I said what I said earlier, get my attention. How do you do that? Elaborate a little bit and see to it that my eyes don't miss that out.
Great, Mr. Abdullah. Let me also share some of the rudimentary questions asked by students when we look at a resume. Questions like should I be mentioning an objective in my resume or not? Should I be mentioning the declaration in my resume or not? Should I have a photograph on my resume or not? So what is your take on such kind of questions? Should a student be mentioning the objective or declaration or have a photograph of his or her on the resume?